What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals goes to the LA Clippers, aka Chip City, led by Paul George. He didn't have a great shooting night. He was 9 for 26, but he was able to make winning plays at clutch times of the game. You know, in particular that second quarter, man. First of all, the first quarter went in the way of the Los Angeles Clippers. They was up 29-21 first quarter. They had it rolling, but to me, they was playing a style of play that was in the Phoenix Suns' favor. Even though they was up 8, the tempo of the game was in the Phoenix Suns' favor. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, if the Phoenix Suns start making shots, the Clippers could be in trouble. And that's exactly what happened in that second quarter as Malcolm Bridges got it going. Hit some threes, hit some mid-range shots. Chris Paul got cooking a little bit. And they had a big second quarter. But the problem with that was they didn't have a big enough lead. As well as they played in that second quarter, they was up like, I think they might have been up like 7-8 points at a point in that second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. But Paul George was able to rally them inside the last 2 minutes of that second quarter, and he was able to chop that lead down to 2 points. So when you looked up at the scoreboard going to halftime, Phoenix Suns were up 48-46, but they thoroughly outplayed the Los Angeles Clippers in that second quarter. I'm talking about thoroughly outplayed them. It was like night and day from the first quarter to the second quarter. To me, the Phoenix Suns outplayed the Clippers worse in that second quarter than the Clippers outplayed the Suns in that first quarter. So to me, they should have been up, 8 points. When you looked up at the scoreboard going into halftime, it was only up 48-46. And I think that was a huge problem for the Phoenix Suns, and that was a huge momentum boost for the Los Angeles Clippers. Because again, Paul George was able to rally and have a big 2 minutes of the second quarter. The last 2 minutes of that second quarter, he was able to impact that game and basically erase that big lead that they had in the second quarter. And then when the third quarter came, Terrence Mann, there goes that man again, and Patrick Beverley, aka Pat Bell, they turned the heat up on the Phoenix Suns backcourt led by Chris Paul, CP3, and Devin Booker. Devin getting buckets, Booker wasn't getting no buckets, as Patrick Beverley was able to negate him once again as he went 5 for 21 off the backs of going 5 for 19 in game 2. So Pat Bell's got this boy 10 for 40 in the last 2 games. Patrick Beverley is that dude in this series, man, playing outstanding defense. Outstanding. Yeah, he playing some outstanding defense on Devin Booker. And then another adjustment that Tyronn Lue made, which is a good adjustment, head coach for the Los Angeles Clippers, he put Terrence Mann on CP3. And his athleticism and length bothered CP3. And CP3 went, I think, either 5 for 19, 6 for 19. So they combined, so they backcourt combined for 10 for 40 from the field. 10 for 40. You know, that's not a good percentage for you that's keeping score at home. That's not a good percentage, man. That's like a ballpark figure, what that is, like 25%. That's unbelievable, man. To hold that backcourt, which is one of the best backcourts in the NBA, the 25% field goal percentage, was an unbelievable job done by 2 guys in particular, Terrence Mann and Patrick Beverley. Now, a key injury happened early in this game that I think hurt the Phoenix Suns in a mighty way. And that was Cameron Payne. Cameron Payne was the best player on the court in game 3. In game 2. I told you that when I broke that game down after it was over. He was the best player. He went for 29 and 11. But he got hurt early in that game as he was seemingly on his way to maybe having another impact on game 3. I don't know if it would have been to the extreme that it was in game 2 due to the fact that Chris Paul was back, but I think his style of play presents a lot of problems for the Los Angeles Clippers. They don't have anybody that seems to be able to keep Cameron Payne in front of him. Ask Reggie Jackson about that. He couldn't do it. Now, I think they could have maybe put Terrence Mann on him, but Terrence Mann, that would have, if they'd have put him on there, that'd have been more energy he would have had to exert guard Cameron Payne, and you don't know if that would have affected the defense that he played on Chris Paul, which was outstanding. So that was a key loss for the Phoenix Suns, man. That guy came down. I don't know if he came down on somebody's foot or he just came down wrong on the floor, but either way to go, he twisted his ankle. It wasn't to the extreme that Kyrie Irving, when he twisted his ankle in that Milwaukee Bucks series, where you knew he was going to be out for a while. I think he might be back sooner rather than later, Cameron Payne, but he definitely was out of that game, didn't come back, so it must have been bothering him. You know, some players have higher pain thresholds than others, you know, and that'd have been Isaiah Thomas or somebody. Isaiah Thomas played on a badly sprained ankle, man. He should have never even been out there. And he played in that game 6 and he played in game 7, but he was less effective in game 7 than he was in game 6 in that epic, 1988 NBA Finals when the Los Angeles Lakers went back-to-back, yeah, as Magic Johnson said. And they was able to win that series 4-3 on the upstart bad boys, Detroit Pistons. You know, Isaiah Thomas, for example, has a high threshold, and he twists his ankle way worse than Cameron Payne twists his ankle, and probably just as bad or maybe worse than what Kyrie Irving did. And he was able to come back, man. But like I say, some guys have high pain thresholds than others, so I'm not here to knock Cameron Payne or Kyrie Irving for that matter. I'm just, you know, spitting facts. Some guys just have a high pain threshold than others. With that being said, his loss was very prevalent for the Phoenix Suns, and it hurt them in a mighty way because he was the one guy that seems to be up to this point that the Los Angeles Clippers had no answer for. So we'll see if he was able to get back on the court for Game 4. But Game 4, speaking of that, it's going to be a key game in this series because there's a world of difference between 2-2 and then win a dogfight, best 2 out of 3, then 3-1, going back home. We ready to close the show and move on to the NBA Finals for the first time since the Charles Barkley era. So that's going to be a big game, Game 4. One thing I like about the Clippers is it seems to me that they were able to adjust to the style of play by the Phoenix Suns. I think it took them a couple of games to adjust because you got to understand, playing the Dallas Mavericks and playing the Utah Jazz, those guys are not elite defensive teams. Those guys are not going to make you uncomfortable out there on the floor. Those guys are not scrappy. Those guys are not teams that are going to make you uncomfortable for the most part on the defensive end. The Phoenix Suns is all of the above, like as I just mentioned. They're going to do all those things to you. And I think it took the Clippers a while to understand that, hey, this ain't Utah and this ain't Dallas. This ain't going to be no up and down, fun, run and gun type of game. This is going to be a phone booth, toe-to-toe battle. We're going to get down in the mud like the pigs do. It's going to be one of them type of things. It's going to be a dog fight. We got to understand we got to bring the defensive intensity. We got to bring the passion. We got to bring the grit. We got to bring the toughness. And I think Tyronn Lue has instilled those on those guys after Game 2. And I think it's going to be an epic matchup, man. It seems to me, man, they got the guys on the perimeter that can give the Phoenix Suns, which is their strength, is their backcourt problems. That's why I was wondering. Like I said, if Kyrie Irving, if Kawhi Leonard was healthy in this series, I had the Clippers. I had the Clippers as one of the teams to come out of the West. I thought it came down to 2 teams before the playoffs started. I said the Lakers and the Clippers. I thought they were going to meet in the Western Conference Finals, and I basically said that was going to be the de facto NBA championship. But Lakers got beat, and the Clippers have really been 0-2 in the hole every series, and they've been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, really. So I've been kind of waning on them. When you watch what the Phoenix Suns have done, they won 9 in a row prior to Game 3. They've been the most consistent, the most complete team. So I went into this series, I kind of went against what I said before the playoffs, that I like the Clippers to come out of the West. I like the Lakers to come out of the West, actually. But I said if anybody was going to get them, it was going to be the Clippers. And once the Lakers were knocked out, I thought the Clippers would do it. But the Phoenix Suns have been the most complete team, so I had them winning this series in 7 games. But I'll tell you what, Clippers seem to have made that adjustment to the style of play that the Phoenix Suns play, and they have the remedy. They have the remedy. They have the vaccine. They have the antidote. To the symptoms that the Phoenix Suns bring to the table. They have an answer to the test. That's basically what I'm trying to tell you guys. They have the answer to the test, man. They have the guys that can make, like I said, what the Phoenix Suns do well, and that's that backcourt playing at a high level. They got guys that they can put on those guys and make them uncomfortable. They got Terrence Mann, they got Pat Bev, they ain't even put Paul George on them. They trying to conserve Paul George on the offensive end, so I understand what Tyronn Lue is trying to do. But if push comes to shove, they can throw Paul George on Booker or Paul George. I think that's what Tyronn Lue is waiting. I think that's going to be I think that's his ace in the hole. If Devin Booker starts going off on Patrick Beverley, which is a big if at this point, then I think the ace in the hole is put Paul George on. Paul George does have the size and length to bother Devin Booker too, so that could be the ace in the hole that Tyronn Lue could possibly play. But right now he don't have to play that card right now because the job that Patrick Beverley's doing on Devin Booker. And then he put Terrence Mann on Chris Paul, which has kind of sacrificed Terrence Mann offense. You know, I kind of noticed that in the first two games. You know, they had Terrence Mann on Devin Booker to start game one, and Terrence Mann had a quiet game. And I was like, okay, well, Devin, he wants Terrence Mann to be more of a defensive stopper in this series, more than the offensive player that he was in that Utah series, and to a degree in that Dallas series. But I think he kind of changed it up. He put, like I said, he put Pat Bev on Devin Booker, and he put Terrence Mann on Chris Paul, and those guys brought the heat, man, that game three, man. Those two guys were the player of the game, played at an unbelievable high level, and the LA Clippers were able to get back in this series. And down, now cut the lead from 2 games to 0 to 2 games to 1. And we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But the key things that you can take away from this game 3 again is Cameron Payne. Will he get back for game 4? That's the key thing going into game 4. And the struggles of the Phoenix Suns backcourt. Will they play a better game in game 4, or will they continue to struggle from the field? In particular, Devin Booker, who everybody was praising and saying the next Kobe Bryant, calling him Mama Jr., which again was jumping the gun, which really was trying to be first out there, trying to say things that provocative, and then if it do come true, you be like, yeah, see, I told you, I was the first one to told you he was the next Kobe, and see what he doing. That type of stuff, man. But you jumping the gun, man. You can't be doing that off no one game. Kobe Bryant and showed you throughout his career he's that dude. And you got to respect him, man. He's the second greatest 2 guard in the NBA behind Michael Jordan, a.k.a. MJ. So you got to put some respect on his name, man, and quit jumping the gun and putting these guys, let these guys have their career, let these guys establish their own identity before you comparing them with the all-time greats. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But let me know your thoughts about the Los Angeles Clippers, a.k.a. Chip City, a.k.a. Clip City, beating the Phoenix Suns. The sun did not rise Thursday night. The sun set on the Phoenix Suns as they lost, and they struggled mighty from the field. Their defense was there like it always is, game in and game out, but at some point you're gonna have to make shots. If your 2 best players are struggling as they were struggling in game 3, it's gonna be hard for you to win as you ask your role players to kind of step up to the plate and provide scoring and get outside their comfort zone and get outside their identity. That being Malcolm Bridges and Jay Crowder, which are guys that are support guys, not guys that's gonna carry you or create their own offense on a consistent level. He has no guys to kind of do more than what they should be doing out there on the court. Another guy that I failed to mention before I finish this video up is Ayton. Tyronn Lue did a good job making Ayton pay. Ayton was doing a lot of roaming in game 1 and game 2. He was doing a lot of what you call hip defense. When I watch him out there on the court, he reminds me a lot of Kevin Garnett. And to a certain extent, Tim Duncan. I ain't saying as far as scoring, but I'm saying defensively wise, being that free safety in the defense, freelance, and basically helping out. If you get dribble penetration, you get to the basket, you come over there and help, and you get your left side, you give them problems. Like they did a good job of making them pay and hitting Zubac out there, and he was able to finish while Ayton was roaming and trying to help out. He was able to get to him, and he was able to finish. You look at the stats, he didn't have a big night as far as scoring wise, but he hit a lot of key dunks and made Ayton pay for roaming. So let me know your thoughts, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, and I'll holler.